ask no questions when I pull up, no, I'm on my way. It's going down right when I see you, what I'm trying to say. Don't play around cause I'm impatient, I ain't trying to wait. Just keeping it honest, just keeping it honest. Yeah, there's a lot of other women I can see today, but you the only one I'm seeing. Treat these hoes like Ray. LB motto, I be duck, but I got time today. Just keeping it honest, just keeping it honest. I'm still riding with a full clip on. Ray Charles to that bullshit. I knew what you was on when you text asking what I'm doing.
Yo, what's rockin' world? How y'all doing, man? My name is Kyren Monteiro. Special guest, really co-host of it. Gonna be on this thing. You gonna see this thing. My guy, Yung Pootie, man. What's going on with it, man?
What's going on, everybody, man? You know what it is. YP go crazy. Yung Pootie here, man.
Yeah, we got Mark Kohn II, aka Yung Pootie.
Yes.
Here on the Board Talk Podcast, episode number 3. We got some good content on y'all. That song that y'all heard in the intro is my guy Yung Pootie. It's called Honestly, featuring the homie JONNI LUVLI. And it was recorded mix and master here at Frequency Canvas by myself. And yeah, man, the squad just got just so much stuff and so much potential that we growing into, man. But I appreciate you coming on.
Alrighty, family, it's good being here with you, man. You know
yeah, Pootie runs Yung Pootie runs his own studio and label and company here in the same building as I am, called Playhouse Sound.
Sound.
New company, actually, and excited, man. But yeah, give him a round of applause, man.
Appreciate it, cousin.
And for the people out there, round of applause for y'all, man. On this episode, man, we're going to talk about CONCIERGE LUXURY. And even though Pootie is an artist and a producer, he's going to come really more from an angle of a recording artist, but also a studio owner and engineer. We're going to talk about the advantages of recording in a professional studio versus
the home setup.
Now, I haven't always had my studio in a commercial building. My studio was at home. I had a professional home studio before you moved into your new venture last month of opening up a commercial spot. You had yours at home, and you can have great equipment in a home studio.
For sure, definitely.
But I think that there are some things that are missing when artists are isolated at home.
Oh yeah, for sure.
No matter the level of the studio, whether it's the cheapest simple home setup or it's some Dr. Dre looking type stuff.
That's a fact, because being in the actual studio as to being at home, there's so much that you're missing out on. Whether that's being input from the actual engineer who knows more what's going on with the record, or even other things going on. There's a lot that you're missing out on. I'm not knocking the home studio, because that's
home studios are great, but I think that a lot of times artists will go buy their own setup, and when I say artists, we're talking about really vocalists. So hip hop artists, singers, singer-songwriters maybe playing the guitar, even bands, even musicians. There's all kind of people are buying home studios,
right.
And this, especially in the last couple of years with COVID and the pandemic. I know, talking to some salesmen at Sweetwater alone, they talked about how stuff is just skyrocketed.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? But we got some different points, and I'm sure that we may add to this. But we want to talk about at least 7 points of why you should go to a professional recording studio. And I feel like these things are valid. And Pootie is going to bounce off of me as we get in this. So the first point is experience. When you go to a professional studio, that engineer, he or she should have some experience at the end of the day, beyond the artist's experience. Even if the artist has some experience, working with a professional audio engineer with some experience is a great thing because they're going to be able to bring so much
Oh yeah, for sure.
value to the table and how fast they can move.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, some of the input that they can give.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they could take a track to the next level with just the information and the knowledge that they bring to the table on what your record could be. Like, you may be hearing something and it may sound good to you, but they may hear something on the other end of that. They'll be like, yo, this might sound phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's a fact.
Yeah, man. I think that people forget that one of the things with audio engineering is you want somebody who has experience. Audio engineering is a weird thing because it's one of those things where the longer you do it, the more valuable you are.
Mm-hmm.
Versus kind of like sometimes like, you know, with a rapper, you know that you're going to age out eventually. Even if you go blow up and do tours with the classic records and stuff, like Nas, Nas is amazing, but he's not Lil Baby right now, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
And so, yeah, you know, but engineering is one of those things where the more you do it, the more you slide into it. So first off, you're going to gain that experience, right? Second off, right behind that experience, professional audio equipment, right? So maybe some of you in a home studio have invested well into your home studio, but a lot of times people just kind of go for the cheapest option and hope for the best. But when you're going to a professional studio to record your music, there's going to be a level of quality of equipment there that you're probably not going to holistically have. And you know, not just microphones and not just analog equipment, but even the kind of power surges that they use, the cables, the type of software they've invested in. They're running a professional studio, so in order to be able to charge that hourly rate for you to record, right, they're going to have to justify some things. What do you think about that, man?
Like in what aspect of
just what I'm saying, like as far as the value of going to a professional studio? Don't you feel like most professional studios are gonna have some gear, some equipment in there?
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely. The higher end studios, for sure, they're gonna have some gear that being in the home studio setup they're not gonna have, just because they're not maybe accessible to have it, or maybe they don't have the funds to grab it. It's definitely gonna be that, but.
Or even if they do have the funds, it just maybe doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it could.
Maybe it doesn't make sense for a home or like somebody with a home studio to spend $1,000+ on a microphone.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe that $200 microphone is what makes sense, because that's all their business can handle.
And at the same time, you can get the same type sound off of that $200 microphone. That I won't say the same, but you can get pretty close to it with the same type of microphones we use down here at the studio. It's just all about knowing what you're doing with the equipment that you do have.
There's levels of stuff.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I will say in 2022, everything it's 2022. Everything, there's nothing on the professional market that doesn't sound professional. But we know that all gear isn't made equal, and I think that going to a professional studio, there is going to be some equipment in there that's going to be beneficial.
You know what? I think now, like it being 22 and how time is just progressing and technology is steady evolving, we're at a point where like a lot of cats out here, they're not necessarily going down to the studio because they got the studio on their phone. Like I see cats with like BandLab making professional sounding music off of their phone with just a headphone.
Yeah, time is definitely changing. But what's crazy is you still can tell the difference.
Oh yeah, for sure.
When you listen to industry records and professional records, you can tell the difference. So that brings me into our third point, which is professional acoustics.
Yes.
Now, for people who don't know, when I say professional acoustics, what I'm talking about is this would be the things that you see on the walls of studio. This would be bass traps and different treatment. And if the studio is custom built, it literally can be the floor and it can be
everything.
Yeah, just the way the acoustics of the room. A lot of times at home, people either don't, may not, don't have that luxury to be able to do it. And there are home studios that sound really good acoustic wise. But one thing at a professional studio, I guarantee you, is taken serious is the acoustics. And there's something called reflection. So when you hear those, when you walk in a room and you say something and you're hearing what we call reflections, people will probably say echo, right?
Yeah.
You can hear the sound bouncing off of the walls, the floor. That's caused by those hard surfaces and things in a room. That is terrible.
Yeah.
For recording. Like
that's killer for sure.
Especially if you have a great microphone that's picking up everything.
Oh yeah.
With a nice microphone preamp, you don't want that.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
That's dangerous for sure.
I guarantee you a professional room, whether it's the smallest or the biggest studio, if it's a professional environment, I guarantee you acoustics that's one of the first things that they've thought about. This next point, I think is one that we can spend a little bit of time on. The ability to focus on performing.
Right.
Now, I know that when you have an engineer who can focus on capturing the greatest performance out of you and helping push you and helping making sure that all the equipment is ran right and just monitoring everything that an engineer does. When you're trying to do that yourself as an artist, it's hard to make sure that all of that is going well and then clear your mind to be able to make the best performance.
It's a task, yeah. It's definitely a task. It keeps you operating at a level like you just gotta keep on moving and keep on working. It's a lot. Trying to engineer and artist the track at the same time, yeah, it's a lot to that. Because
the last thing you want to do as an artist is you don't want to not be able to have the greatest performance, the greatest vocal take, because you're worried about what's going on with the software, with your microphone, with your interface or whatever you may have in the studio. Like, you don't want to do that. Another thing you don't want to do is you don't want to have the perfect take and then something's not going right. You don't realize that you're distorting because you got excited on that part. Or you don't realize that you're not recording at all. Like, whatever it may be, I think that the benefit of being able to focus
strictly on the art, this point alone is why we're calling this episode Concierge Luxury. Because at this point in the home studio market, artists don't necessarily need to go to a studio anymore. Not necessarily, yeah.
It's some concierge luxury type stuff when you go into the studio. It's more of, man, this is what the stars do, right?
Yeah.
It's more of one of those things because, like I said, it's so affordable and so easy for anybody to record their own music now. So I think
very easy, very.
What do you think about that ability to be able to perform, right? So let's tell your story for a little bit. You had a home studio.
Yeah.
And I remember last year when I first opened my studio downtown in our city, you had to learn how to trust somebody having their hands on your music because you've grown accustomed to
doing it myself.
Doing it yourself. Sure. So talk about that transition and you trusting a professional engineer. It's not about me, but it's just about more of the position. So how was that for you to come in a professional? And you've been to other professional studios, but how was that for you to come to a professional studio and work with a professional engineer, but then have an ability to be able to be hands off, knowing that you was in good hands and you could just focus on being an artist? I know that's a big question, but I want you to answer all that.
I'm gonna try to answer all of what you just said.
Okay.
You just said a lot, but really, I'll start off by saying that it takes time. with me, I'll say like I've always had the home studio set up, obviously, but going to other studios and just being in that environment of the actual studio, I could say, speaking for myself, I mean, I could probably relate. Other people probably could relate to what I'm saying, but like you may get overwhelmed with being in that environment, especially with something that's your art form. So singing or even rapping in front of somebody else, you may get nervous and you be like, damn, I don't want to do it like that. And therefore your performance, it may suffer because you trying to impress the engineer or impress anybody else that's in the room instead of focusing on the craft. I would say that right there, that was a biggest thing for me early on about coming in and recording and having the home studio set up. That was one of the main reasons why I got my own. I was like, let me get comfortable doing this on my own. That way, when I transfer and get into the actual studio, I'm able to know what's going on. I'm more comfortable in my own skin. So yeah, I think that a lot of artists, the trust between the engineer and the artist, that's something that, you feel me, I don't necessarily, not just being inside music, but that's something that can be formed outside of music. Like, obviously, me knowing you, I know you outside of music. So I have a certain trust with you based off of that. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that can be built. But I understand, like, all the artists that be like, man, I'm not going to the studio. I'm not letting anybody do this. I can do it. I understand that, but sometimes you got to put your pride to the side, get out your head on certain things because it may be better for you. In certain instances, it may be better for you.
And I think it's one of those things where artists, you know, by the way, I'm an artist too for y'all that don't know. But
yeah, go get that every time out now.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
You know, I think that because art is held so closely related to our hearts, that a lot of artists are like you said, are scared to let somebody in on something that's so dear to them. But I love something that D-Time said on episode 1 when we talked about the mixing phase. I know we kind of talk about more recording, but it's still the principle. He said that, you know, when you get to the mixing phase, that you gotta be real with yourself and ask yourself, am I handing something good to the engineer? Right? It's a level of trust. And I think that in that same sense with recording, you have to be real and ask yourself, one, am I coming to this engineer for the reasons why I hired them? If I'm coming to this engineer because I believe they're the best and we got chemistry, then I need to let them operate in the capacity that I hired them for. Right? You know what I'm saying? Which is to make sure that they capture the best performance of me at the end of the day. Doesn't mean they're my vocal producer. Doesn't mean they're my music producer. Doesn't mean they're my beat maker. They're not my slave. They're not somebody underneath me. They are somebody who is highly skilled at what they do. And I'm paying them and trusting.
Because at the end of the day, they're working for you. So it's your job to give them the product so that way they can work for you at the highest level that they can. Essentially, that's what it's supposed to be. So
artists, I want y'all to remember, as a recording artist especially, that your job when you go into the studio is to execute and deliver the best vocal performance that you can.
For sure.
And no matter how small or big your team is, that objective stands at the end of the day. It's to get the best performance.
Yeah.
And so if you allow yourself to be able to go into an environment where somebody can help you, like myself or Pootie, or some other engineer, wherever it may be in your area, that's going to help you at the end of the day. So once again, step number 4, the ability to be able to focus on performing.
The performance.
I think that's probably the best point out of these 7 that we got wrote down.
Yeah, that's a fact, because people, they're not going to remember how the song was mixed. They're going to remember the performance of the song, how it was played, and how they felt when they heard it. They're not going to remember like, oh, the engineer, he did this on the track. They're not going to remember that.
They will, but they're going to remember it because of a great performance.
Exactly.
You know, a great song is going to help you appreciate a great mix.
For For sure.
It's like, once again, it's like D-Time said in the episode, if you got a trash song, if your song is terrible, why are you even getting it mixed in the first place? You need to go back and re-record. It's all about the song and the arrangement and the performance. It's all performance based at the end of the day. And so in your performance as an artist, you have to do what you're supposed to do. Number 5, I like this one. It kind of goes with that ability to focus. Number 5 is there's no home distractions. Now, everybody's home life is different. But for those recording artists, those of us who rather you're a husband or a wife, or a mother, or a father, maybe you got roommates, maybe you live in an apartment complex and you got neighbors that you got to focus on, or maybe you live in a house.
Things we know all too well.
Yeah, maybe you live in a house and you got that, or maybe at home you're just lazy. You know that. The home life brings distractions.
They do.
But especially when you have kids.
Yeah, we're nieces and nephews, yeah, for sure.
Or maybe you are grown and you still live at home.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, roommate, whatever, even if you live by yourself, sometimes home can bring distractions.
Definitely.
So I think that when you are going to the studio, and you're spending your hard-earned money, or if you're signed to a label, you're spending their money that you're going to have to pay back and have crazy interest on off them royalty splits. At the end of the day, it's like when you walk in, there's pressure on you. I'm recording a local artist now. I won't say their name. You probably can guess who I'm talking about. I'm working with a very young hip-hop artist right now locally. And we're working on a 6-song EP. And last session that I had with him some days ago, I tracked his vocals, and we were talking about the transition of him working at home by himself to coming here. And he was saying that when he came to our studio that he felt rushed a little bit, right? But in reality, he wasn't rushed because he has 2-hour sessions to work on one song. So it's not rushed because it's already written, it's ready to be recorded. He's already went through, them first couple of phases in the production phase. And so, but he said this though. He said, I feel rushed compared to being at home because at home I can just, I can stretch out time however long I want to. He said, but when I come here, I get it done quicker.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
Because working with a professional engineer, I stay organized.
Yeah, that engineer is gonna hold you accountable to it for sure.
And I'm even doing more. I'm more of being a producer. Because I'm telling, hey, say this, harmonize like this.
That's a part of it.
I even went in and programmed some drums.
That's how you add. That's what I'm talking about. Putting the input into the track that you may not know. That could take your song from being a good song into a great song. That's that input, bro.
Yeah. So I think that the ability of being able to come to a professional environment, it eliminates distractions and put pressure on you to say deliver.
Yeah. Definitely.
If you got a 2-hour session, it's like, I got to get these 3 records done.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to that because I'll be at home. I might record something. This is when I had the studio set up at home. I'm gonna record maybe a verse, and then I see power done came on at midnight, so I take a little break, maybe like an hour or two, just watching TV, and then go back to the work. Coming down into the studio environment, like, all right, I'm set to this time frame. This is what we're gonna get done in this time. So it's like you committed to getting that work done in that time period. Like there's no distractions unless you and your phone and you distracting yourself. But
which you still can definitely, but you gotta have that discipline.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
You definitely gotta have some self-control with it and discipline to get your work done.
No, number 6, and we kind of touched on some of this, but Pootie, you can talk on this as well. More hands in the pot, and the pot is AKA the record. When you come to a professional studio, you at least have a engineer there. And depending on what kind of team you have, you may have a music producer, you may have a vocal producer, you may have a songwriter, you may have a vocal coach.
A lot going on.
You know, depending on the magnitude and the complexity of the structure of the team. But even if it's just you and another and just the engineer, you still have somebody there.
Yeah, for sure.
Who's a part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
So will you elaborate on that? The value of, once again, you know,
having somebody with you there.
Yeah, having somebody with you there and just kind of not, not being isolated to get that
I
best.
think in a lot of times having that person there with you, they give a little bit more inspiration to the track. Like I was saying, like giving input into how to make your song go from good to great. Having somebody there with you and that's able to help build the song with you and be like, maybe you should hit it like this. Maybe you should do this. You know what? Maybe we can add this to the song. Bring new dynamics into the song that weren't already there. I think that's majorly important. Like having somebody there to hype you up, necessarily your hype man. Like your hype man that might be on the stage when the song's done, that's the person that's doing it pre-production and post-production. You know what I'm saying? It's
Straight
that person. That's who it is. It's the person in there hype you up. All right, you just messed that tape up. We about to do it again. You about to hit it right. Having that person there to hype you up, man, that's major.
Pootie is saying some truth.
For real, that's good vibes, man.
I ain't even got nothing else to add.
I'm telling you.
Number 7, something that people don't think about. Your vocals are an asset.
For sure.
All right. So let me your vocals are an asset, right? So last episode I did, it was called Beyond the LLC. And it was all business talk. There was nothing technique, nothing creative about it. This is a business. And at the end of the day, rather you own your masters, the sound recording of your music, meaning what's distributed on Spotify, Apple Music, all of that, what we play, what we hit play to. Somebody owns that. So it's either you and the producer, it's the record label that you're signed to, whatever. Like somebody owns that. So your music is not just art. Your music is actually an asset of a business.
For sure.
So the same way that one of my microphones is an asset under my company, Frequency Canvas, is the same way that under my record label, Engage Records, my vocals are assets just like that microphone is to the company. Right? So if your vocal is an asset and an instrument and what draws the fans in, the hope of making a record is that you make something timeless that lasts forever. So why would you not want your vocal, which is an asset, to be ran through top-notch equipment? It doesn't make sense to run for the cheapest option when your vocals are one of the most important things. Now, once again, an instrumental is just an instrumental and an acapella is just an acapella until they both come together and make a record, right? So an instrumental is just an instrumental until vocals get on there and make a record.
True.
But at the end of the day, why would you not want your vocals to be recorded by the best people with the best equipment?
You know, I think that with a lot of cats, I think that is the goal for a lot of them. They want their music to be the highest quality that it possibly can, but
for the cheapest rate and the littlest effort.
No, it might just be circumstances too. Like you may have the cats that may not have it, or you may have them cheap cats who may have it, but they be like, man, I'm not about to pay them to do this. I can do it myself. I feel like the ones who really are treating it like a business and do it in such a way are the ones that find a way and make a way out of nothing. So say they got a good recording, they go above and beyond to, feel me, turn that into a great recording in some sort of way. Whether that's either, say I just recorded it at the crib, breaking stems down, sending them off to somebody who knows what they're doing, you know what I'm saying? The ones that can actually take it serious and doing things like that instead of, you feel me, going around them and, you know, I'm going to do it myself, which is fine. You can do it yourself, but it's okay to ask for help.
You recorded you had a client earlier and you used the AKG C14.
Love it.
Which is considered
that's my baby.
It's considered a high-end mic. It's definitely a legendary microphone. It's definitely a very, very well known microphone all over. How was that experience for you and for the artist, because you could have used the Aventone CV12, which is still a great mic, but to use something that's pretty much almost triple the price.
Yeah, man, I loved using it. I love the sound and just the clarity that comes out of the 414 for sure. Like the CV12, it has a sound. I love the sound. I'm still getting used to it. I've only had it a couple months now, but there's something about that 414, like in the way it complemented the artists that I was working with. Like it just sounded great. Like everything felt one.
It's just like as soon as you hear it, it sound like a record, don't it?
Yeah, it definitely, everything comes in like just dry. No effects, no processing on it or anything. Just dry input. It's like, yeah, this sounds amazing.
Yeah. And for the artist, just hearing that playback of his vocal, how was that for him?
Oh, he was amazed. Like, bro, this the sound? Like, yeah, man, this is what comes out. It amazed me. Like, damn, I didn't know it was like that. I ain't gonna lie. And I recorded with this mic, but recording through a different DAW and a little bit different hardware is a little bit different sound, because I came up recording on mics that necessarily weren't even supposed to be used for recording, like rock band mics. So me going from a rock band mic to hearing how a 414 comes to a ISO 1, like, yo, that's major.
It's like it's some of the best. It's some of the best of both worlds. I just think that artists really need to like take pride.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you look at a mainstream artist, let's say like a Chris Brown, a Beyonce, a Jay-Z, like somebody legend, like super ridiculously legendary, right?
Right.
They're recording on like a lot of them use Sony C800s. Them was like $10,000 microphones.
It's like
the way and like the way that they operate, they won't even book a studio if their mics ain't even in them. Or it's to the point to where they'll have their own, and then their engineer will bring it. Like it's to the point that like I'm only recording with this. Like, and that's how I feel about the Mojave. You know, it's not a cheap microphone, so it's almost $2,000. But I feel like
that's an excellent microphone too. You get a grown man sound out of that mic. I recorded honestly on that mic, and that's amazing sound coming out of it.
Just the detail that you get.
Yeah, for sure.
You get all of the detail from the 414 plus some.
Yeah, a lot of color, a lot. I feel like the 414, it has more color in it, I would say. With I don't know, what would you think?
No, I think the 414 is probably a more transparent mic.
Think so?
Yeah. Not to get into nerd talk about gear, but I just want y'all to understand that as a vocalist, your voice is an asset.
Mm-hmm. You got to protect it.
Yeah, and you got to respect it at the end of the day.
Facts.
And so the same way that you take pride in everything else in all of these other areas, take pride and stuff. With hip hop artists, I never understood how people could take pride in spending $2,000 to $5,000 on a music video, but not want to spend enough adequate amount of money to get the songs recorded, mixed, and mastered
the right way
at the high level. So you would go get a high-end music video to low-quality music.
You know what? I think about that. Like the day and age we live in, like everything's visual. Like, yeah, you may hear it, but you want to see it. So if you got a crazy ass visual, the song may be mid. But if the visual's crazy and you give me something to look at, okay, you got my attention. Then that's when everything else comes into play. Like, all right, this person just got 1 million+ streams. Now they about to go to the studio and, you feel me, actually get the song mix, master, go through the whole process of how it should have been done. I think that may be a way a lot of cats out here think, like, yo, the song may not be good, but if we get the visual to get attention to this, then we have a new avenue that we can explore that way.
Well, you may be right, man. You may be right.
I'm just saying, man, it's possible, but
at the end of the day, all of these areas all point to one thing. There is still benefit in going to professional studios with professional engineers to professionally record your vocals. It is about you zeroing in delivering the best vocal performance that you can as an artist to captivate your listeners and try to make timeless music and change their lives along the way. That's your responsibility as an artist. I want to thank y'all for tuning in to Board Talk, episode number 3. Concierge Luxury. Give yourself a round of applause, man. Yeah. Pootie, appreciate you coming. Pootie is actually distantly my blood cousin, and so in another episode we'll have to cover some of that stuff of how we from a small city and most black people is related around this joint.
That podcast might be a little longer than people expect it to be. Like, find out you got new cousins every other week. Like,
man, it's something, man. Yeah. But hey, man, if y'all are in the area of Marion, Indiana, or in the Midwest, and y'all want to reach out, email us office at frequencycanvas.com. Frequencycanvas.com. We got some special things coming in the future that we can't wait to reveal. But yeah, hit us up. Me and Pootie, we can get you situated. And if you're not in this area, you still can email us stuff. And even if you don't want to work with us, go work with professionals that know what they're doing. There's a lot of options available. Go work with people who put the time in, who've invested their time, their money, their efforts, and who love music, who love audio production, music production, and just record production, and that want to do that. Also, if you want to do a podcast, reach out to us at Frequency Canvas and we can take care of y'all. Episode number 3 of Board Talk. Make sure that y'all love our podcast on whatever platform that you listen to them on. Comment, review it, share it with your friends on social media, and reach out and just let us know how we doing, man. So we hope that we instilling value into the community and just bringing audio production more to the forefront, listener by listener, and just moment by moment, man. So we appreciate y'all.
To all my artists out there, all my creators, y'all keep grinding, y'all keep working, keep creating. Just keep the vibes alive, man. Just keep going, man. Don't let nobody tell you can't do it. Just get up every day and work. Find it in yourself.
Invest into yourself and keep pushing, man. Yeah. This Kyren Monteiro, Yung Pootie.
Yeah.
Board Talk Podcast, episode number 3, man. We out this thing, man. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah.